Hello, friends. Welcome once again to another exciting and educative session with you. And for those of you who are here to practice what have been given to you from our previous classes, please endeavor to do that. All right. So for today's class, we will be looking at working with aggregate functions. Aggregate functions. Yeah, using the SQL. And for those of you who are just hearing aggregate functions using SQL, what you should know is that aggregate functions are a very powerful tool in databases. And same way you use Excel, right here in SQL, these aggregate functions also serve the same purpose, just as they are equivalents in Microsoft Excel that you use. But there's a magic, okay? And I'm gonna show you, because the magic is that you can query data and apply functions in the same statements. All right, enough of the too much talk. Let's go straight to business. So while we are going, I will be throwing some little gist. So straight up, we'll be working with them. And first and foremost, you need to have a database that contains the records you want to analyze using those aggregate functions. Aggregate functions like maybe you want to get the total from a list of data. That means you need the sum function, right? Good. That's an example of an aggregate function, and it's also available here in SQL. So there are many of them, like the average. Maybe you want to get the minimum number, the maximum, and so on. So you must know this, that SQL has many cool features, and aggregate functions are definitely one of these features. So the first thing we're going to do is to work with what we call the select statement. So I need to select the record from the database I want to analyze using the aggregate function. So the same thing you will do. Whenever you have a record that you have right here on SQL, either you imported it or you created it your own self, creating tables, the first thing you need to do is to use the select statement to bring up that particular work, okay? So it's important I say this before we start talking about aggregate functions. So the first thing I'm going to do, let me assume that under this product record database, I have a record for all products sold for a company. So I'll come over, click on the arrow close to product record, and I will come to tables. Remember what I said. So when you come to tables, click on the arrow close to tables. It will bring what we call the table itself for that record. So this is it, product record. Okay. So once I've done that, I want to bring up this table that contains this record for product. Instead of using the select statements, which I can just come over here and say select from so. Instead of doing that, I can just come right here as we have product. I will just click on this little drop-down button. Of course, I believe you can all see my screen. I mean, this little drop-down button. So it's a two-way process. Either you want to do it that way, or you want to use your normal select statement to say, let me select that particular record. Okay, bringing it down here to my SQL workspace. So it's one of those things you might decide to do. So if I want to bring up this product record, I'll just click on the little icon and you can see it here. This is it. But if I don't want to use that method, let me just close this. If I want to use a normal select statement pattern, I will come here and say select. So whatever way you want it to be, either you're using capital letter for your select, there is no problem. So I will say select. What do I want to select? I want to select from which database? I want to select from the product record database. But before we do that, as often, start with your use product record. The name of the database is very important. so that that one can be bold, unlike this bank that is bold. So I will use my semicolon, then I will execute. So you can see it's now ticked. So I want to bring up the record on this database so I can start my my aggregate analysis. So I'll come down and say select. I'll use this asterisk since I don't have any specific data I want to select from that, so to extract. So I'll say select from product record. That's the name of the database, is what you type first. Select from product record. So what do I want to select from product record database? I will now put my dots. It's like an object browser. Which record do I want to select? Do I want to bring up from that product record database? You must know that you can have more than one record within a database. That's why where data modeling comes in, you being able to model your data. Okay, so don't get things wrong. Okay, I just want you to catch the flow. It's very important that you catch the flow. When we are talking about data modeling, for those of you who have been following us, you know it's very important. So I will not want to go into details based on that. Just that I want you to know that some of the records in tables are referenced in others, while some are not. Like this one now is not. Where it is referenced in others, then you should know that maybe, for example, we have data that could fall in such nature. I don't want to go into more in-depth aspects. But when you have situations like that, you now remember where primary key and foreign key comes into play, which helps you for your modeling. Okay. So going by this now, we want to select a particular report from product record database. What's the name of that record or report? Remember that report must be in a table. We gave it a name. The name is product. That's why we have product to be typed. So I'll say from this database, if it was school, whatever information, maybe sales report, football competition results, election results, whatever was the record you created in that database, that's what you use this full stop as an object browser. For those of you who have followed my VBA training, to do what? To browse it up. So it's going to have, being an active. So I will just come now and say dot product. Once I'm done, always end with your semicolon and do what? Execute. So once I execute, automatically with the select statement, it brings the data out. So that means you cannot start working or using aggregate functions without doing what? Without working with the select statement. For you to be able to use the aggregate function, you must, first of all, start with select statement. Enough of the talk. Let's start an example. Now, let's say the name of this company is ABC Limited, and you work as an analyst for them, and they asked you, please, can you tell us the total quantity of inventory we have in warehouse A, I told you the good thing here, which is the magic, is that you can do it within same statement. Let's flow. Since they say it's in warehouse A, I will just come down. When I come down, what will I say? I will use the select because I want to run an aggregate function based on this. So I will say select sum. Sum also comes in here. Okay. I say select sum. I put my bracket open. Now, remember you asked, tell us the total quantity of inventory we have in warehouse A. This is the record containing all inventory in warehouse A. Since we want the total of all the quantity from product ID 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, that's everything. I will just type in the name of the column, which is quantity. Okay, so I'll just say quantity. So SQL will be able to query and read this. SQL will be able to query and read this data because that's what it does. That's its work. So I'll come and say bracket close. Now, I've just sent a statement that I want you to give me the sum of all quantity of the products that we have. But I've not specified from which record. That's why we come down. Yes, of course, to you, to I, it shows that it must be from this record. But I have to specify. It's now coming to do the work of like VBA, which looks into objects programming language. Okay, and same way I told you, the SQL is also a simple programming language. Okay, now I have to specify so SQL will know where it's going to pick that information from. So for that reason, I'll come here and say select and tell me the total sum of quantity from, what's the name of the record? We say product. So I'll say from product table or record, whatever I want to call it, from products. So once I've done that, I'll then say what? Semicolon. Then I execute. So when I executed, what do you notice? Automatically, pap, it comes up telling us that the total sum in that statement for quantity is how many? 300 and what? 19. 300 and what? 19. So I believe, ladies and gentlemen, you're loving this, because if you use your calculator, okay, we should go back, right? Good. Now, if I want to go back, if I don't want to affect this script, maybe I can just come over to table here. Let me not affect that script. Let me just open it in a separate section. Good. If you use your calculator to add 33 plus 78 plus 35 plus 60 plus 113, you must get 319. You must get 319. If you say we should try it, I have my calculator here, so we can bring up my calculator. So let's do that. Remember, in our classes, we always practicalize all this to ensure that there is no question that is not attended to. So let's do that. We say 33 plus, we say 78 plus, we say 35 plus, we say 60 plus, then we say we have 113. We have 113. So you can see that we have 319. We have 319. 319 pounds. 319 quantities. Okay. So if I come back there, can you see 319? 319. So you can use this to also solve mathematics. Maybe they want you to know the unit price, they want to know the total scores, and so on. There are a lot of things you can do using this aggregate function we call the sum function here. Okay. And if, for example, let's say I told you that there's a magic within same statements. Let's say you also ask that you want to know the average quantity, the average number of quantity. I don't even have to suffer myself. All I have to do is just to clean this sum and change it to what? Average. Average abbreviation is what? AVG. I'll just say AVG. Then I hit my what? AVG. Then I hit my execute. And automatically it tells me that the average is 63.8. Someone will say, sir, are you sure this 63.8 is correct? Yes, sir. How do I know? I'll come back to my products section here. To get average, we have to add everything and divide it. So if we say let's add, we have 319. We don't even really need to even add. Let's just divide 319. Let's divide 319. For those of us who are good in maths, 319 divided by 5. Is that not 63.8? We have 5 quantities, 5 products. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. By the total, it gives us 63.8. And right here on MySQL, you can see it also gives us okay. So like I was saying, that what if you also want to calculate, since you've gotten the average, you want to calculate the maximum, what will you do? You don't need to stress yourself, okay? SQL queries and reads your data. You just have to come here, clear average, and put in what? Max for maximum. Then you execute. Automatically, it brings it up for you, telling you that the maximum number we have in that quantity list is 113. And you can go check it out yourself. It's 113. minimum is 33. Now let's run that one for minimum. So if we come here to run the script also for minimum, I will just clear max and change, I'll just change max to what? To min. So once I execute, automatically it brings it up that the minimum is what? Is 33. So you can see right here that the aggregate functions are used here to calculate a set of values and also helps you return a single value. And they are common, just like the equivalent in Microsoft Excel. They are commonly used in SQL queries whenever you want to summarize data, you want to provide valuable insight, whatever you might want to do. So I will leave you with this. Please practice using the average, like I've showed you, using the average, where you use it, maybe you want to compute average value of a set of numeric values in a table, or maybe, as data analyst, the average function is very useful and important because there are situations where you will need to determine the mean value of a particular data set. Okay, and the average function can be used alongside other aggregate functions. For example, the count function. You know what to do by now if you're given such tasks. So one of the key benefits of all this is that they help you identify what we call outliers in a data set. And this is very important for you to take note of, as well as other data that you might need in what we call data warehousing. So I'm going to leave you with this. So please practice and send us your feedback so we can guide you on the next steps. So thank you once again for joining. Thank you once again.